Good afternoon. Welcome to Two Girls Treasure. This is Diane. We're filling in for Shyla today on IOD TV. And if you're just joining us, thank you so very much for being here. I hope you have sound now. I always try to make sure I have the microphone muted before we go live, just so you don't hear me shuffling around before I go on the TV. Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, right behind me, you see our secret garden door. This old vintage door has been in desperate need of a little bit of an update, and with some of the brand new iron orchid design products that we've received here at Two Girls Treasure, I am inspired to bring you a secret garden door. Now, if you're as old as me, you remember the secret garden. What a wonderful story of a girl who lived in her imagination in a garden with a secret door out in her backyard. And I know at some point when we all go outside, if we've ever read that story, a little piece of us longs for that door. Well, today we're going to create that door with some of the brand new products from Iron Orchid Designs. We will start with our letterpress. The most amazing thing about this set of typography in the family of IOD typography sets is that the size makes the difference. We have had lots of typography to work with, and we needed something a little bit smaller, and just like always, when you ask, the sisters deliver. So IOD letterpress just came out several months ago, and if you have not gotten one from your local stockist, you need to make sure you add this typography set to your toolkit today. It is going to be beautiful and just the right size for what we are creating today. The second thing we'll use is the brand new petite parasols. Have you looked at how whimsically amazing this paint inlay set is? IOD has come out with a paint inlay with beautiful imagery. And if you've not looked at this yet, give it a second thought. Go directly to your stockist and grab one of the petite parasols inlays today. So let's get started. Are you ready? Brenda, I'm so glad you're joining. Do you have your closed captioning on? I usually make sure that's on when I do my lives, and I'm hopeful that you can see our conversation today. Let me know. Now, the first thing we'll do is I'm going to tip you down into my clay and my letters, because we are going to create our lettering for the secret garden with an inlay into our Iron Orchid Designs clay product. Now, I normally have my IOD clay bagged up so it doesn't dry out. It's the softest, most supple clay product I have worked with. I hope you have worked with the IOD clay products yourselves. They're amazing. So I'm just going to take a pretty liberal piece here. Got a nice big chunk. I'm going to put my remaining piece back in the bag, because what I don't want while I'm working is for my extra to dry out. So always bag your clay when you are working with your other pieces, so you keep your clay nice and soft and supple. Hello, thank you so much for joining us. We are filling in today from Two Girls Treasure in Florence, South Carolina. And if you're just popping on, we are creating a secret garden doorway. Now, I'm going to use my IOD brayer, and I'm going to roll my clay out. I'm going to flatten it out a little bit more before I roll it, just so it doesn't take so long. This clay has been open for probably a month. I find that as long as I keep it bagged and keep the air out of it, my IOD clay lasts a good little bit of time, but over time it gets a little stiff. So when you break your clay out, if it's been a while since you've played with your clay, it might be a little stiff. It's okay. Roll it out, work it up. If you find that it's too stiff for you to work with, then put a damp paper towel back in the bag. That way, seal it back up, and that way it will re-moisturize. It'll reconstitute itself. We'll save that little piece to the side. We'll roll this out a little bit thinner because I want a piece that will lay into the upper panel of our door. And I really do want it to look as an old tattered sign hanging on the door. And it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical. I got over my OCD a long time ago, mostly. Melanie's laughing at me because she knows that is so true. If you've ever visited my store, you know there is no OCD around here. There is disorganized OCD. It's a good time though, it's all creative. All right, I'm gonna stop rolling just about right there because I don't wanna make it so thin that I cannot impress. But that's a nice, good sheet of clay to work with. Now, I'm gonna rub it out smooth, and I'm going to grab my glue. I use a craft glue. A lot of times I use my Aleene's tacky glue. It works great with our molds with clay. It works great with our molds with resin. Today we're doing clay because I really want to impress this. And I'm going to impress this after I apply it to the door. If I impress it here and then apply it, I'm gonna muddy up my imaging. So I'm going to pour out a little bit of glue onto my clay backing, and I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm just gonna scoosh that glue around. I wanna make sure I hit my edges so that my clay stays on where I put it for the rest of its natural life. Now, Melanie is here with me today and she's moderating on the computer. If you have any questions about what we're doing, please feel free to ask. We lost the sound?
1 minute ago, somebody said, Bernice said she couldn't hear anything.
Well, I'll be. I am.
You didn't touch anything.
I didn't touch anything, Bernice. I swear. Let's see. Can you hear me now, Bernice? Is anyone else having trouble hearing me? You can hear? Okay. Hi, Joanne. How are you? Okay, I'm glad y'all can hear. Because I'm kind of loud, so I don't wear a mic. All right, I tell you what, I'm going to lay this down because I want you to be able to see right up here. You hear me just fine. I'm so glad. Maureen, thank you for being here. Might be a little crooked. I'm going to pull the camera back out a little bit so you've got a good visual of the top of that door. These camera stands should be a little bit simpler to adjust. We need like a robot on there moving that camera around, don't we? All right, so I've glued my clay really well on one side, and we're gonna take that and we're gonna lay it into the top panel of the door. Need to come down just a little bit. There we go. Now, I'm going to take my brayer and I'm just going to make sure my edges are smooth to the door. And that way my glue will hold just a little bit longer and I won't have any air pockets underneath. You can't see, but I have a little bit of an air pocket here. So I'll just roll that back up to the top. When you're working on your art project, sometimes you'll find problems as you're working forward. Just fix them as you go. Don't panic, don't worry. They're all fixable. Just a good rollover. And I've got a couple of air bubbles right here. I'm just going to use my hand and I'm going to push those up so that they'll come out at the top and we won't have any air bubbles when we get ready to do our letters. All right, you ready to do the letters? I'm kind of excited. All right, I've got my Iron Orchid Designs letterpress typography set. Mel, I hear my frog. It might be. I have family coming in on my day off. All right, so with this typography set, there are 1, 2, 3 different styles. I particularly like this style. It's just like the large typesetting, but in a size that we can use. So let's go ahead and get out just what we need to spell out Secret Garden. And as we go, because we're going to need duplicate letters, we will have to fill in spaces that are empty, and we will compensate for that as we go. Secret Garden. Hello, how are you, love? Secret Garden. D-E-N. So we're going to need that E several times, and it's okay. We've got it. Now, because I'm going to impress in clay, I'm not going to use my silicone grid sheet, my thin mount. Even though that will help me keep my letters straight, it's not going to help me when I impress them. So here's how I am going to use them. I am going to take my thin mount, my silicone sheet. It has grid lines and arch lines. You definitely need several of these in your toolkit. Okay? And what we will do is we will take our letters. I think I'm going to set it down so I don't drop them. And we are going to take our letters and I'll line them up. I think maybe, I don't know. Let's try it like this. I could be wrong. This might work just fine. But I will spell out Secret Garden on my grid sheet. Let me grab my C. This is how our letters get lost. Secret Garden. And I'll have to leave a space for the E and put my T back in, and everything will be just fine. I think I'll move my E down, otherwise my T will not be lined up. All right, we'll start with Secret on our thin mount, and let's impress it right here in the clay. This looks like it's going to be just the perfect size for this door panel. And you know, you would have to have the right password to get through this door, wouldn't you? Secret garden. All right, there's the secret. Oh, that made a nice impression. I'm gonna take my E and I'm gonna fill back in right here in between the S and the C. I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can make sure it's in there straight. I'm a little bit over my height here. Too short to need a ladder, too tall to need a ladder, too short to want one. All right, there's the secret. And how we doing? Hi from East Texas. How y'all doing? All right, let's lay in the garden. We'll do the very same thing. I'll go ahead. That seemed to work better than I expected. I wasn't sure, since I was going onto the door surface, that using my thin mount was going to be the best thing to do, but you know what? It worked just fine. Nothing smushed. Everything lined up just right. Garden. There we go. And we've got all the letters to lay this out. So this will be perfect right here. All right. Garden. That will complete our secret garden sign on the door. Let me center this right under secret. Impress it. Give it a good push. Oh, that's going to look amazing. We're going to paint over that piece, and we'll use a wash over the top of that as well. And that will look amazing. I also feel that we could take our, if I have them right at my fingertips, because everything's right here. I'm looking for my butterflies, and of course I don't see them only because I'm looking for them. But we'll leave the secret garden right there for right now. Here's what we're gonna do, and I can't wait to get to it. Let me move the secret garden and the letterpress out of the way so we don't lose any of our letters. One of the things that I notice with the paint brand I use is simply that I have to paint my surfaces first, seal it, and then do the inlay on another coat of sealant. I know that there are several brands of paint product that this seems to be a very workable proposition to utilizing the inlays in the best manner possible. So what I'm going to do, I have already painted and sealed the door one time already. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kick over to a single view camera. I'll get you in a little bit closer so you can see as I go. I'm going to take the first sheet from the petite parasols, and I don't know that there's a particular layout here that I need to follow. This looks very usably. Now I know there's a pattern going across and going down, but I think you can start just about with any piece and make this work. What do you think? Have you used this yet? I think you could do this just about any particular way. Now you do need to make these line up. It is important. I see that. And the tree, we need to make those line up as well. So let's delve in. I tell you what we'll do. Let's tip this camera back down. And let's take a good look at these, because we want to make sure that we have the proper layout here so we get the best image possible. All right, let's move the camera back so we can lay these out and take a good look. Keep your protective sheets handy. And let's lay these together. Is this the tree? Let's see. We have the tree house bottom. You know what? That's the top sheet right there. So let's start with that. Let's do one section at a time. That's what we normally would do with our inlays. So let's do one section at a time, and we'll start right here under the Secret Garden sign, okay? First thing I'm gonna do, I like to use a microfiber covered pad, and that way when I apply my sealant or my decoupage medium, either one, I've got a good cover. Now I'm gonna do this entire panel. I'm gonna make sure I put enough material on here to lay that inlay across this section. That should be plenty. It's a little bit drippy. So let's start right there. And let's take this inlay and let's make a garden out of it. We're gonna move the fan out of the way so I don't blow this away. Ready? I love the magic of these inlays. Since I didn't trim it down, I'm gonna line the edge up to the edge of the door. I'm gonna smooth this top section. And I'm gonna cut some relief into the edging of the door right here along this line. We'll go ahead and cut the relief so that way this piece can go where it naturally needs to, inside that panel. There we go. Okay. Well, it cut, but it didn't let go. Trim it a little bit more. There we go. All right. I'm gonna lay that and that down. I'll lay that in. Smooth it with your hand. Now let's do, I think I need a little bit more of my top coat right here. I don't think I had any on that little section. Once this is on, the trick is to dampen it. Even though I'm going over top coat, I still want to make sure I dampen this side of the inlay sheet. I don't want to oversaturate it, but I want enough that it lays down like it should. That inlay, which is paint, needs to impress itself into my top coat. And in order to make that happen, we need to give it just a little incentive, just a little, to work well. How many inlays have you worked with yet? Now, I am in love with the rose chintz. I got immediately obsessed with the finish of the rose chintz because you can use it on almost any color. This is gonna look amazing right here. I just want you to know that. Let's go to page 2. Now, clearly, we're gonna be a little bit over. We don't need all of this right here. So I'm gonna lay it and find my mark. We're gonna make sure this lays in just like it should. And my mark is right here. So I'm gonna trim this sheet right here so my page 1 and my page 2 lay together. How many inlays have you worked with? My very first one was indigo floral, of course, and it was with the indigo floral that I discovered I needed to utilize either a clear coat product or a decoupage medium in order for the inlays to work with my paint brand. Whatever paint brand you're working with, you have to experiment a little bit because you want your inlays to work with your paint brand, but you want to make absolute certain that you've got a way for it to work. And it's a manipulation of the product, and it's okay to do that. All right, here is, nope, that's the wrong sheet. This one, I thought it, I laid it down, I knew it, I picked up the wrong one. So let me get this in the right place, and let's lay this in side by side, lines to lines. Nothing here has to line up right next to each other. So we'll go ahead and lay this top piece in, and then we will cut our relief right here at the top panel of the door. Here we go. Just a little slice of inlay. There we go. And then we will, I think we can just lay this in at this point. I don't think we even have to. Now, look at me. I cut myself short right here because I didn't account for this rolling edge. It's okay since the pattern doesn't join right here. Ooh, it does, Mel. Look what I've done. I think if I pick it up, am I gonna smush it? Oh yeah. Well, you know what? It's okay. I can lay some in the center after I've done this, and we will just fix it. It'll be okay. Promises, promises. All right, let's damp this piece. I'm still learning to work with the inlays. They are an amazing product, and it reminds me how we all worked when we first started working with the transfers. They were not easy. Some of them were just downright difficult to get along with, only because we did not have the experience to count ourselves as knowing how to use them. And we're experiencing the very same learning curve right now with these paint inlays. Give yourself some room to make mistakes like this, and then once you get ready to remove your inlays, you can go back and fix that. I can go back and fix that, and if I can do it, I know you can. So give yourself the room to grow with these products. Once we all learn how to do them, we'll be like second nature, simple as pie. And we'll be teaching everybody in the world how to use these amazing products, because we'll know how at that point. All right, we have our first set of inlay sheets on the door. Now, because I made a mistake on the first two pieces, I'm gonna have to repeat that mistake all the way down. It's okay. When I'm done, when it's dry, I could go right back in this little line, and I know you can't see it real well, but it's about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a 1/2 inch gap. I'll fill that in as I go down, I'll compensate for it, and you and I are the only ones who are ever gonna know. You're not gonna tell on me, are you? I hope not. I really hope not. Let's move forward to our next sheets, and I'll get the next sheets out. Let me remove my cover sheet and grab hold. I just love the birds on here. That could be a bird of paradise, and that could be a peacock. Who knows? But look at that sweet umbrella with swags hanging from it. Does anybody else think that looks like something that Jackie Hoffman Creations could have in her front yard? All the way in Australia. Jackie, I believe that looks like something you would have, and I admire your work so much. I admire the fact that this looks like something in your yard. All right, let's go here. And let's see how this lays in. Now don't forget, right here along the edge, you see the cut line? You want to make sure that this lines up with what's there. So let me take my little handy scissors and let me trim that cut line right now. Because what I don't want, and I'll kick you back over to this camera so you can see. What I don't want is to leave this cut line on here and lay it over the top of the other inlay sheet. It will make a mess. They will stick together. I won't be able to pull them apart. I'll wreck my image. I'll smear it and I will be frustrated. That's a lot all at one time, isn't it? Just cut the line. Just cut that off. Same thing on this edge. Since this edge we will be putting up against the next sheet. Let's see. No, this edge. This is the edge that'll go up against the next sheet. And we won't have to cut it because I already made a mistake. We'll be okay. Let's take this. We've cut the top line. I didn't do a smooth, even job. I've got a little bobble right there. It's okay. But we're going to take this. We're going to go right back here. And we're going to take our sealant. And let me move you down just a little bit. Sorry. There we go. Let me move you down into the colored phase. If you know anything about me, you know I cannot live unless I have color in all the projects that I'm doing. I love color. But y'all, this is a secret garden door, so there's got to be some color in here. Now we're gonna have to cut relief in two different places on this side. So a good coat of sealant. It is a little bit drippy, not too bad. Wipe my hands off. Always keep a pack of baby wipes nearby. And we're gonna take this and we're gonna lay this right here along the bottom edge of that piece. There we go. Lay it in. Smooth it on, and guess what? We're going to take our razor. We're going to cut the relief in this edge right here. Mel, how are we doing for time?
34.
Great. You know, I think we almost have time to see some good results from this project today before we leave out. I will be excited to do that with you, because I love a good completed project. All right, we're going to bring that right there. And we'll lay it in. Smooth this. All right. Little bit, I did the same thing here. I don't think I compensated for the length I was going to need. A little bit more sealant up underneath there. It's easier to judge when you're painting how much material to put on because you can see the paint. It can get tough when you are doing it with your clear coat because you can't see your clear coat. And Melanie, my eyes escaped me. I set my water bottle right here. Never mind. It's right here. Y'all saw that, didn't you? Don't tell anybody. All right, I'm not gonna go below the line right now. I just spritzed that by accident, but I'm not putting any pressure on it, so it will be okay right this second. Let me set my water bottle down where I can see it. And we'll take our brayer and we'll bray smooth across. I'm trying not to roll back and forth real hard because I don't want to smear that paint image, and it's my inclination to roll it on, but we're just going to roll it gently. Now this was a bit of a challenge right here. We're going to find the way to overcome this challenge with the lines and the seams on this. I just really had to do this inlay today. I really felt the need to use this inlay I went back and I watched the release video because I wanted to make sure I put the right product on this door. And boy, when Sally and Josie described the petite parasols, I knew this was the right piece to go on a secret garden door. And I'm going to go right up underneath it, and I'm going to put my sealant right underneath it because I didn't put any down here first. Now, I'm going to wipe my hand off, and we're going to cut the relief on that piece as well. We'll get better at this as we go down. By the time we get to the bottom of the door, it'll be fantastic, won't it? I'm going to cut relief right here on that edge, and I'm going to cut relief in the corner. There's nothing right here in this corner, but I want to make sure that this still lines up nicely as it goes down, because there's some architecture on the panels of the door, and we need to make sure we include that in our consideration. Spray this side. I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm going to tamp it just a little bit on that groove side. Got to get your groove side in just right. Get your groove on. Stop by and we'll have a 30-second dance party and get your groove on. All right. And I'm going to roll this in one direction so I don't smear my ink. A little bit right there. It didn't smear it, but it sure pulled it out. Now, the paint product I use is pretty strong, so we want to make sure we don't leave this on too long. What I have found when I'm doing the inlays and I'm practicing with them is that I need to test it after about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. You might want to play with your paint products and your sealant to see what works best for you. This is all a big experiment. There's no real right or wrong way to do this. Well, there are some wrong ways, but everybody can find their own right way to do this. Spritz over it one more time. I'm going to tamp it with the paper towel to make sure the paper, the carrier paper, is good and damp. I don't want to saturate it, but I want to make sure it's good and damp so when I go to peel it back to check on it, that it is not going to tear. If it gets dry on my paint product, it'll tear. Again, my paint products are strong. There are binders in them. And if your paint product line has binders, you want to make sure you check and test and find the best time frame that these work for you. If I start peeling right now, I'm not getting all the image that I want. So I'm going to put this right back on, tamp it back down, and we're going to leave it alone. We're going to let it continue to lay in to the clear coat, okay? Just let it lay. If it doesn't work when you start to peel it, if you peel and you don't get image transference, put it back and leave it alone for a little while. It'll be okay. We'll come right back down here and we'll go to our next section. No big whoop. Right, Mara? No big whoop. When I told my sister that Mara LaFay said that, my sister laughed and laughed and laughed because we grew up saying that too, Mara. No big whoop. Did you, Melanie?
Absolutely.
Melanie grew up north too, so she grew up saying that too. No big whoop. All right. Our line is to here, so let me trim this out. Did anybody answer how many different inlays they've worked with? Have y'all worked with the inlays, or do you just want to work with the inlays? Who's scared to work with the inlays? Hola de Portugal, ¿cómo estás? really a little intimidated to work with the inlays because I'll be honest, I was intimidated by them. I did not care for how they worked with my paint brand. I was just not happy about trying to use them. So it took me just a minute to warm up to them. But what about you? How have you tried to use these amazing products? Or have you? What's your biggest fear about using them? All right, there is my clear coat. You plan to try, Jackie? You know what? All you can do is try. I'll tell you what. I have 6 sample pieces. And if you will send me a message, Sherry, you have done some amazing work. It's too expensive to experiment. It is a little bit fussy. I think they can absolutely be used on metal, Jackie. I think so. Send me a message and I am going to gift you a sample. Just send me a message and I'm going to send you a sample. I only have 6 available. Send me a message and I'm going to send you a paint inlay sample. That way you are not going to the expense of experimenting with your own product right off. You will have the ability to experiment with my product and I'll be glad to share it with you. Let's make sure we all have the opportunity to play with these and learn these together. They really, really are a lot of fun. All right, there is a Fisher Boy, and
Jackie wants to know if they can be used on metal.
yes, ma'am, absolutely. This is all a matter of experimentation, and they can be used on so many different surfaces. It is a matter of how you apply it, what paint you're using, what sealant you're using. There are so many combinations to unlock the secret to using these inlays. Send me a message and let me send you a piece of inlay to practice with. Would you like that? I would love to do that for you. And ask your local stockist, it doesn't have to be me, ask your local stockist if you can get a sample of a paint inlay. And I bet what you'll find is they will be inclined to help you, teach you, and if you don't have a local stockist, I'll help you. I think it is amazing that Sally and Josie have shared so many of their wonderful art secrets and techniques with us and have given us the tools that we need so we can be amazing artists in our own rights. And it would be a tragedy not to share that with you.
We're getting many requests for samples.
Send me a message and I'll be glad to share with you what I have. When I run out, I'll see what I can do, but I only have a limited number of samples to share, and I will be glad to share with you. Again, if you have a local stockist, make sure you check with your local stockist also and get that free sample. See if they mind sharing with you as well. Message me and I will do everything I can to share with you. I don't see a reason why we can't share and learn together. You ready to do another sheet? Let's do it. I'm going to trim down this top edge. I always forget, trim down this top edge first. And then we will lay our sealant on. I saw the question, I didn't see who asked, what kind of sealant do I use? Do you see that, Mel?
Yeah, she's asking what brand of sealant. Sandy's afraid to mess up.
Oh, Sandy, you know what? Don't be afraid to mess up. If you've been on here since I started, I already messed up. I already messed up. Oh, honey. I've got a little gap right here from the top to the bottom. I've got a gap right here. You can't see it, but I've got it. I'm going to have a gap all the way down this door. I'm going to backfill it because there's really not a lot that you can do wrong that you can't make up for. Girl, I already messed it up. Don't you worry.
Yeah, somebody was asking what brand sealant.
I use Rethunk Junk Tough Top. It's a water-based sealant. It's very thin and it's easy to apply. My paint brand, Rethunk Junk Paint by Laura, has a lot of binders in it because it has a resin additive. So it is not conducive to laying the transfers, the inlays, not the transfers, but it's not conducive to laying the inlays directly into the paint. So we've had to experiment and find the best ways we can make these inlays work for us. And what we have found is that our sealant is the trick. It is the key to our success doing these projects. And it works well. All right. Now in just a minute, I'm going to be upside down on the floor.
Meryl Dunnian wants to know how they send you a message. They go,
Diane, Two Girls Treasure on Facebook. And again, just check with your local stockist because IOD was so gracious as to allow a paint sample, a paint inlay sample to each stockist to share with their customers. And I think we should all be sharing. So check with your local stockist. If you don't have a local stockist, you're welcome to message me. I will share. As many as I have the opportunity to share, I will share. When I run out, we'll have to defer to some other folks for you. But send a message to me at Two Girls Treasure, and I will get right back in touch with you when we get off this live today. And I'll be glad to share with you. Because it actually is simply hard or hardly simple. Not sure which. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still making mistakes. But what you have to be more than anything is willing to take that chance. You know what? There's just as much chance that you'll do it right as there is that you'll do it wrong. Is that about right, Mel?
that's right.
But if you don't
try.
That's right. If you don't try it, then you're assured you can't do it. Take that experimental art time and play and learn and share with everyone what you've learned so that we can all learn. Now, let's go back up top and let's try this one more time. How we doing for time? It's 1:51. Let's see if we can get one of these sheets transferred and off before we go. Are you ready? Just like I said, this might work. This might not work. I might do it right. I might do it wrong. But I'm going to do it until I learn how to do it well. And I thank you so much for being here today to learn with me. Let's see what we've done with petite parasols. I don't think we got a good image transfer here. I don't think this worked for me today. Nope. I've got a big blank spot on my door. Now, what am I gonna do? Well, there's two things here I can do. First thing is, I'm gonna let this dry completely. I'll tamp the water off, and I will tamp off any of the remaining product that hasn't dried. I'll let it dry completely. I'll remove the other sheets, and maybe if I leave them a little bit longer, they might have more success. The other thing I'm going to do is, as these dry, as I remove them, as I see what's working, I'll know whether or not I put enough clear coat on, or maybe I need to move to a different product. I know I can do this with my decoupage medium, so I might move to that product to replace this blank spot right here. It's okay. I'm not fearful, I'm not frustrated. I can fix this. All I have to do is let that inlay sheet dry, wait, and try it again. Let's see if we can hit the secret garden with a little bit of color before we go. At least we can do that part. You see our clay with secret garden on it? Let's give that a little bit of color before we go. That way, we know we've got at least one part of this fantastically well done. I'm gonna pull out a nice light blue shade. I'm going to take a nice soft brush, and I'm gonna take my mister. I'm gonna spritz my brush because I only want to glaze over my verbiage. And I'm using a nice soft brush so I don't smash my letters. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a good first coat all the way around this clay so that as it dries, it doesn't crack so terribly. Now, since it's been air drying, I'm gonna have some cracking, and I'm okay with that because I want this to look like an old, cracked garden sign. So at least we'll have this part completed, and we won't have to worry about it. And the rest of it we won't worry about either, we'll just do it. We'll just do it. Now, if you're calling, we're not ignoring you, but we are closed today, so we're probably not going to answer the spam calls. We probably won't answer those. There we go. All right. Nice coat of gentle light blue. It almost looks white. But that way, we have some color on there. And I'm gonna take this blue and I'm gonna take another brush out. I go through a lot of paint brushes, y'all. I'm going to tamp the water off of it, dip my brush in my little bit darker blue. I'm gonna spritz this and I'm gonna glaze so that, and I need my paper towel. There we go. I don't want it running down in here, but that way we've got a little bit of glaze and aging over our impression in our IOD clay. Just tamp it around a little bit, and I'll work with this over the next little bit of time, and we'll make this part work well. This I have a lot of experience with. The inlays, I'm still working on it. It's a learning curve. And it's one we all just need to take the plunge and do. So don't worry, don't panic. Whenever you're concerned that you may not do it right or you might mess it up, I just want you to remember you were here while I messed it up live. And you can't do any worse than that. It'll be okay. All right. We're going to let that all dry. And we will, let me ease into that a little bit so you can see just how secret our secret garden will be today. Look how beautiful that is. Is it focusing as I'm going? It'll be okay. We'll fill this in with some color and some glazing. I will find the fix for this spot. Don't worry. And we'll check as we go, as this dries and we move further down that door, and we'll make sure that we have a way to make these inlays work well for us. I'm going to tip this camera straightish. Straightish. It's still not perfectly straight, but it's okay too. Listen, if we didn't experiment with our art projects, we would never learn anything that would carry us to the next level of understanding. Always be willing to take that next step. Always be willing to make the mistakes, because that's how we learn the best, how not to make those mistakes. Always be willing to help each other and share with one another. My favorite part of the IOD mantra is we were all created to create. Live with that mantra and you will be able to do anything you set your mind to. I will update with photographs and hopefully with a good completed photograph of the Petite Parasols paint inlay from Iron Orchid Designs on our secret garden door. Thank you so very much for joining me. I'm Diane Pruitt from Two Girls Treasure in Florence, South Carolina. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you soon on IOD TV.